try a little something different today. There's a song you've never heard of. It's Evolution by Bruiser. It's no lyrics. Just all uns. You know what's going on. I'm going to take some notes here while the music plays. I'll let it run out a little bit. I'll be like a mime up there. I'm going to be like a mime. Paleolithic era is the topic. We're still in this old Stone Age. And we're looking at things from the point of view of an anthropologist who studies culture. And we got to look at some different upright walking hominid species because you're going to have different cultural developments. Ready? Here we go. Check out this Neanderthal skull. Huge cranium. Bigger jawline. A little bit more ape-like. Here's the Cro-Magnon, the Cro-Magnon, if we want to anglicize it. The Cro-Magnon is the area in France where the skeletons were discovered. We see this is much smaller cranium. But there's going to be some major cultural differences here between these species. Fade the music out and get down to brass tacks now. It was enough of evolution. That's why I chose that song, right? It's enough of Evolution by Bruiser. And let's get a little bit more into detail here. If we were to take these skulls and let anthropologists kind of do their thing and kind of let scientists do their thing, we see these sort of artists recreated renditions of these early species. We're going to ignore this guy over here. You can read all about him at home. You probably can't even pronounce his name. Okay. But here is our good old Neanderthal. We see a little bit shorter, right? A little squattier, a little bit more muscular, kind of built. Oh, geez, maybe I'm a Neanderthal. I might be. Is that Mr. Connolly? I don't even know. And then over here, look at this handsome stud. This is Cro-Magnon, the Cro-Magnon man. This is our direct descendant, or that, I'm sorry, I guess we would be the direct descendant. We Homo sapiens are direct descendants of Cro-Magnon, the Cro-Magnon man. We see he's a little bit taller, a little slimmer. I don't know if he was this good looking. I don't think they took showers, so I don't know what's going on there, right? He looks like he should be like in, Maroon 5 or something. But we're going to gloss right over that. And let's get down to brass tacks on some of the cultural stuff that we found. Here are some Neanderthal tools. And we see that it is very, very uncultured. These are crude. You ever seen that movie, The Croods? This is it. Neanderthal tools were very crude and uncultured. Obviously used for probably hunting, and we can glean from that Neanderthals were, in fact, hunters and gatherers. So let's come back here and get that up on our board. When we look at the two recent hominid species, the Neanderthals and the Cro-Magnons, we sort of looked at what we saw differently, but then when we examine these artifacts, we see that Neanderthals were very crude. We could maybe make the leap that they're very uncultured. If I could spell it, would be great. They're crude and uncultured. I think even in the movie Crude, they spelled this different, and it was like crude. I don't even know. I haven't seen that movie actually, but they did a little like these guys were so dumb they couldn't even spell it right. Of course, they couldn't spell it. I'm not even necessarily sure that they could talk. More on that later. Okay, and so crude, uncultured. We also see like if they're making spearheads, we're probably into the hunting. Right, we can make that leap of faith as an anthropologist. You examine culture. You look at these tools and spearheads. And we know that they were hunters. They're probably wandering around hunting and gathering, right? And that's probably the last big step that we can make, is that in order to trail the food, right, in order to hunt these animals, they probably had to follow the animal migration patterns. And so they were nomadic, meaning they migrated with their food source. And that would be the culture of the Neanderthals. Okay, very, very basic. Over here, we skip over to the Cro-Magnon. Now, this is the ancestor of what will become a Homo sapien. And if we analyze the Greek meaning of Homo sapien, we really start to see kind of like what's already going to go on here. Homo meaning one, and sapien meaning wisdom in Greek or Latin, sorry. And so Homo sapiens, the Cro-Magnons, show one wisdom. They're going to be much more cultured and much wiser, and we're going to be able to see it, of course. Where are we going to be able to see it? Right in the artifacts that archaeologists have found that they've left behind. So if I swing back behind the computer again, let's check out some of the Cro-Magnon type artifacts, and we'll see that there's a lot more wisdom and intelligence probably at play. Here is a cave painting done by Cro-Magnons. That's better than anything I can draw, kids. I don't know what's going on with that. There is obviously a lot of artistic interpretation there. Okay? There is a lot of ideas. There's a transfer of ideas from their brain onto a cave wall. And there's a lot of stuff going on that's really, really interesting there. We can also take a look at this. This is a Cro-Magnon burial site. And if we examine this burial site from the point of view of archaeologists or anthropologists, we'll see that this skeletal remains were in fact buried with trinkets and goods that this, I'll use the word person, probably had with them while they were alive. Now there's an implication there. There's an implication that these Cro-Magnons, these Cro-Magnon men, our ancestors, these Homo sapiens, were wise enough to have upper level thoughts that, geez, maybe there's a life beyond this one, and perhaps there are goods or trinkets that the spirit or the body wants to bring with it to the other side, or perhaps there was just a general respect and honor of this individual, sort of like an upper level respect thing that went on. And we start to see that this is a much, much more advanced culture. Okay, much more advanced culture. And so if I swing back to my camera, let's get this stuff up on the board. The Cro-Magnons were probably also nomadic, so there's going to be some similarity and overlap. They were probably nomadic. Right, so there's a similarity. They were probably migrating around following food sources. They were probably hunters and gatherers to a certain degree. And so we have a lot of overlap similarities. Hunters and gatherers. Wow, weird word to spell on a board. And that is about where the similarities are going to end. When we get to the crude and uncultured part, we're going to see some really upper level thought here. And this is the wise, right? This is the wisdom. There's some upper level thought. There is certainly a way of life, a culture or a pattern that we can see, especially with that burial site. And there's probably one other key instance too that we didn't really get to. I mean, did they have music? I don't know, but you know what they did have? This is probably what people are starting to focus on. It's a big change. I'm sorry I left that screen tiny. The big difference, not necessarily the change, but the big difference probably had to do with the vocal apparatus of Neanderthals and what are today adult humans or Homo sapiens, and of course our ancestors, the Cro-Magnon. And so if we look at, and I am no biologist, nor am I a physiologist, nor am I a scientist, but I am going to trust the research here that the vocal apparatus of Neanderthals really restricted their ability to speak or have a language. They may have been able to make some deep grunting guttural sounds, but the Cro-Magnons, these Homo sapiens, those of the One Wisdom, they showed the ability to have a culture, right? And if we look back here, we see that, of course, just being a little bit taller, having a little bit smaller of a skull, that the areas of the body that actually make vocal sounds are going to be a little bit different. And if we come back here, we're going to note this on the board. This is a huge key difference, is that Neanderthals probably could not speak. They may have grunted, and I'm going to put a question mark. This is just sort of, these are theories, these are positions. They may have grunted based on the evidence we just saw, but, right, so as a part of their culture, they probably did not have what the Cro-Magnons had, which is a language, the ability to communicate, which then, of course, leads to these upper level type thought processes, probably makes them more efficient in their wandering around, following food sources, and it's really going to dictate the way that this species is able to sort of carry on and evolve. There's that song Evolution by Bruiser again at the beginning. It's going to really allow this species to sort of carry on, whereas Neanderthals are going to get to about 40,000 BC and go bye-bye. Whereas our ancestors, our species, these Homo sapiens, these Cro-Magnons, this is going to carry on, and we're still kicking. We're here listening to our iPhones in 2020, and it's a crazy, crazy time for everybody now. So pretty amazing the way these small little differences in the culture and the ability to build a culture would eventually result in one species going bye-bye and the other species becoming us awesome individuals that sit here and out there today. And man, we got computers and we got cell phones. This is crazy stuff, all because we had the ability to communicate, whereas the Neanderthals probably did not. And so when it came to strategy, when it came to improving upon ideas and being able to share ideas, this group could, and this group couldn't. Share your ideas, kids. Talk to one another, right? This is what we do as humans. Adios.